Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Monday, January 27th, 2025. Born on this date in 1894, attorney and state lawmaker Albert Patterson of New Site. He would later be assassinated in Phoenix City in 1954 while running for state attorney general on a platform of cleaning up corruption and organized crime in Phoenix City. Today, let's talk about the brief removal of Tuskegee Airmen history from Air Force training education, the Gadsden woman with the gene-edited pig kidney, and news that broke at Krispy Kreme. I'm Mike Morgan, and we're down in Alabama. The Air Force has reversed its course and will not remove Tuskegee Airmen history from its instruction curriculum, reports AL.com's Coyote Crown. Now, was the short-lived removal malicious compliance or simply a misunderstanding over the intent of President Trump's ban on federal diversity, equity, and inclusion programs? Republican U.S. Senator Katie Britt joined others, including Democratic Representatives Shomari Figures and Terry Sewell, in protesting the removal. Britt called it, quote, malicious compliance, implying a passive-aggressive overreaction to Trump's executive order in a social media post. And brand new Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth replied, quote, we're all over it, Senator. This will not stand, end quote. And apparently it won't, with the San Antonio Express News and other outlets reporting that the curriculum would return today. The Tuskegee Airmen were the black pilots and support personnel who trained in Tuskegee and served in segregated units during World War II. Tawana Looney, the Gadsden woman who became the fifth American to receive a gene-edited pig organ, has set the record as the longest living among that small group, reports the Associated Press. And on Saturday, she was at 61 days, which is how long a gene-edited pig kidney remained working inside a deceased man's body during a 2023 experiment. Now, it was during that experiment, by the way, that researchers gleaned information that helped them recognize and treat rejection of Looney's new kidney less than a month into her recovery. Now, reports are she's doing great and might get to return home in another month. Looney's in New York right now, where she had the procedure at NYU. She learned of the experimental work through UAB Hospital, where researchers are involved in the project. She donated one of her kidneys to her mother in 1999, and her other kidney began to fail after she had complications during pregnancy. She developed antibodies that tests showed would have rejected any human kidney that was available, so she was left with the experimental option. She was taken off dialysis in December for the first time in 8 years. If her transplant fails, she should be able to resume dialysis. Well, if you listen to the poets and songwriters, then you know that where people are born can stick with them the rest of their lives, often as a badge of honor. In song, it's often a brag or a humble brag. Folks have been born in a small town, in a dead man's town, in a crossfire hurricane, down in Alabama, thank you, Clarence Carter, across the river in the mountains, or in the backseat of a Greyhound bus rolling down Highway 41. The implication being you've paid some of your dues even before you ever took your first big gulp of air. I'm going to put this next one in that category. Dallas Bennett was born after a snowstorm in a Krispy Kreme parking lot. AL.com's Patrick Darrington reports that Mama Shania Bennett was having contractions at her home in Dothan last Wednesday, when South Alabama was uncharacteristically snow and ice covered. Father Keon Mitchell said it was slow going on the roads to the hospital, and they came up about a mile short. They pulled into the Krispy Kreme parking lot, as we all have on many occasions, and next thing Keon knew, he was holding a brand new baby, managing not to pass out and waiting on the paramedics, who arrived within about 3 minutes. Mom and baby arrived at the hospital and were doing fine. Krispy Kreme, meanwhile, offered the couple free donuts for a year and to host the first birthday party for Dallas. Krispy Kreme manager Laura French, quote, "I'm telling you, everything happens in the Krispy Kreme parking lot on a scale from small to grand." Now, you know Keon's already been accused by his buddies of pulling into the parking lot because the hot light was on. I mean, no matter what's going on in the car, you can't drive past the hot light. Let's take a quick break. Then I'm going to try out a new feature that we might do from time to time. And I want to get your thoughts on alternative names for the Gulf of America. Just humor me on that. Y'all stay with us.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
One thing we're going to try to do here and there through 2025 is to quickly highlight, not spend a lot of time on it, but quickly highlight a place or a thing in Alabama and where its name comes from. Of course, if you're from the place we're talking about, it might not be some big information reveal for you, but surely there are plenty of folks out there who aren't from the area. Also, the origin of many names are disputed. We'll try to make it clear when we're going on local lore or shaky oral history. Now, this is partly inspired, by the way, by the Hee Haw episodes that would call out a viewer's town and just say its name and population, and everybody would say salute. So y'all feel free to salute at home. Let's start this week with possibly the first place that I ever voluntarily looked up for information on its name for personal biases. Fort Morgan is a community on Mobile Point in Baldwin County. Now, if you're sharp, you've probably figured out that the community is named for old Fort Morgan out at the end of the point, guarding the mouth of Mobile Bay. The fort was built in the 1830s on the site of the former Fort Bowyer, and the Army turned it over to the state after World War II. Now, like many forts, it's named for an American war hero. Daniel Morgan was a Revolutionary War soldier who eventually became Brigadier General, who was born in New Jersey and settled in Virginia. He served under Benedict Arnold in Canada and was taken prisoner and released in an exchange. Later, he made a big part of his name by leading a crucial victory against Cornwallis and the British at the Battle of Cowpens in South Carolina. After the war, he was briefly recalled to help suppress the Whiskey Rebellion in Pennsylvania and later elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. And as far as I know, never vacationed at Fort Morgan or anywhere on the Gulf of Mexico. See, I said Gulf of Mexico again, and that really works to lead into this next part. I'll finish today by taking one more peek at last week. It was an extremely busy week for one that had a federal holiday. Also note that on the same week that President Trump renamed the Gulf, snow fell on it. And that's what happens when you let a Yankee rename the Gulf. Now, no offense to the president, and God bless you wherever you come from. We're glad you're here. But if one person's going to get to up and rename our Gulf, shouldn't it have at least been a Southerner? Most non-Southerners who visit our beaches call it the ocean, for goodness sake. Now, if you had to change the name from Gulf of Mexico to something, and you wanted to give it more of a Southern fried flavor, I mean, we love the name America, but, we want to give it a more Southern fried flavor for this exercise, what would it be? Now, if you have a great idea, shoot me an email at imorgan@al.com with golf in the subject line. And if I get enough response, I'll go over them in a future Down in Alabama report. So have fun with that if you want to. Thanks so much for listening to us today. We're going to be back here again tomorrow. Until then, y'all come on by and see what we're doing anytime you want to on the World Wide Web at al.com.